Hello, my name is Matthew Charles Castro. I am from San Diego, California, and today I will be discussing timbre. Now, in one of the previous videos by Loudon Stearns, titled Frequency, he talks about timbre, and he defines it as a collection of sound at multiple frequencies. Oh, yes, you know everything about timbre after that couple words, don't you? Wrong! There's two components that I would like to discuss as the definition of timbre. So that's one component, which I define as the harmonic content of the sound. And so when you play an instrument, when you sing, you create a whole bunch of frequencies. There's one fundamental frequency, which is the lowest hertz value. And then there's a whole bunch of other frequencies that are usually multiples of that fundamental frequency, and that's kind of what gives you the sound distinction for that instrument. So there's a whole bunch of different frequencies for each instrument that you play. That's kind of what distinguishes them from other instruments. A guitar sounds different from a trumpet, from a clarinet, because they have different overtones and other things as well that I will continue to discuss. So there's the fundamental frequency, which I was talking about. There's also the dominant frequency, which is usually the fundamental frequency. Dominant frequency just means that the frequency that you hear that is most apparent in the sound that you hear, and that's usually the fundamental frequency, the lowest hertz value. But sometimes it'll be a higher hertz value, which is kind of interesting, that kind of an overtone will be a lot higher than the fundamental frequency at which the note is being played. There's also inharmonic frequencies, meaning that these are frequencies that are being, that are part of the sound that aren't a multiple of the fundamental frequency. And so that you get a lot of that when you are playing on the drums with cymbals and such. It's kind of a complex sound. It's not really it's not really tonal, I guess I would say, if that's the right word. So that's one part of timbre, which is the harmonic content, the frequencies. The other part is the envelope. The envelope is kind of the spectrum of noise that is created when you play an instrument. And so the first part of that is the attack. And so the attack is the first strike of the instrument, when you first pluck a guitar string, when you first hit a drum cymbal or something like that. And there's this peak amplitude at that point that kind of it's different. And then if you look at the spectrum of sound, it's different. It's higher. It distinguishes the sound. The next part of the envelope is the decay. So everything after the attack is the decay. It's the slow and gradual, decline of the sound. As soon as you pluck the guitar string, it's loud and apparent, and then it slowly kind of goes away. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. Now, there are two other parts I'd like to talk about within the envelope. There's vibrato, which usually is apparent in singing, and the vibrato is the periodic change in the pitch of a tone. So you hear this a lot in, I'd say, opera singing, or maybe even soul singers, people who have a lot of soul. They have this kind of oscillation in their voice. Just go on YouTube and just look up vibrato voice, vibrato singer or something like that, and you'll kind of know what I'm talking about. But it's a slight change in pitch, and it deals with the frequency. The next thing is tremolo, which is a periodic change in the amplitude of the tone. So it's kind of like vibrato, but instead of the pitch that's changing, it's the amplitude, the loudness. So it can oscillate, being loud and kind of softer, and that is a distinguishing part of the sound. So I'm kind of muting the same note with my mouth to get that kind of tremolo effect. And so within music production, I'd say, manipulating the timbre, you can use a lot of effects. Vibrato and tremolo are themselves effects with which you change the vibrato and tremolo of the sound. You get that a lot on a whole bunch of effects units and music, DAWs, I'm sure. And then there's also, distortion, EQs, phasers, whatever. I'm going to cut short because I'm almost at 5 minutes, but that's pretty much all I have to say anyways.